everybody. Welcome to another episode of Job Seeker Spotlight. My name is Ira Bowman. I'm actually going to be flying solo today. My co-host, Lisa Jones, is not able to make it. So I'm happy you are here. What do we do on Job Seeker Spotlight? Each and every week, we are bringing the spotlight to job seekers around the world, trying to help raise your visibility. We do it for free. This is just one of those services that we provide. It's an hour-long show, and we help in two different ways job seekers to get in front of recruiters and employers. First and foremost, we offer you, and by we today, I mean I, offer you the ability to join me on air and get basically a 5-minute interview. I'm going to ask you easy questions like, where are you from? What do you do? What type of job you're looking for? What kind of skills do you bring to the table? And those types of things. It's going to give the owners and the recruiters an opportunity to know you, but also get a sense of your personality, because the culture of these companies is something that a lot of people don't think about, but it's very important when you're making a hiring decision. How well will the new person fit in with the existing team? So this allows to address that in a variety of ways. Plus, it just, again, it gives you an opportunity to be seen by thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of people. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn each and every week. The other thing that we do, and we actually do more of this just because this is what people ask us to do, we do profile reviews. So if you want me to bring up your social media profile and talk about suggestions on how you can improve it so that when an employer or a recruiter would look at your profile, they are more likely to be interested in you. And this is becoming more and more important as LinkedIn profiles specifically become part of the hiring equation. So, do you have a good cover photo? What does your profile photo look like? How are you doing with your header? Can we tell what you do? Would somebody who doesn't know you be able to find you for the thing that you want to be hired for? What are you doing with your featured section? What do you have in the way of skills and endorsements, recommendations, all of those things? We do these profile reviews for 5 minutes because I don't want anybody to get picked on too much and feel like I'm attacking you. That is certainly not the goal here. We are trying to help 100%. Everything we're doing here is designed to help you. So that's the show in a nutshell. If you want to join me on stage, I'm going to share the link to join. So give me just a second here. I've got to copy the address and I've got it now. Okay, so to join, click here. Okay, so I've got that. Yep. Okay, so I just put that on LinkedIn, and don't forget to tell me where you're joining from too, by the way. It's always nice, and I will actually put your name up in lights. So if you tell me you're joining from Texas or California or India or London or anywhere in between, we get people who watch this show from everywhere. But when you do that, I will put it up. I don't know if the comments are working quite right or not. It looks like this one's not showing up for some reason. I can't put it up. But anyways, I put that link in on LinkedIn to join. Click that link. And then here I've got it on YouTube and Facebook as well. So you can join us from any 3 platforms, wherever you are watching from. If you want to join, you click that link. It'll take you to my green screen. Once I see that you have your camera on and I'm ready, I'll pull you on stage and then you'll be visible. So when you first come into the green screen, you can hear me and see me, but I can't hear you. I can only see you. Once I pull you on stage, and I can hear you too. But what I would suggest for everybody who comes on, make sure when you come on to turn the sound off wherever you were watching from. So if you're watching from Facebook, you want to turn the sound down on that, because when you come on my show, you're actually going to be about 30 seconds ahead of what you're seeing. There's a little bit of a delay from the time that we record to the time that you see it. Even though we bring this live, we transmit through a program called StreamYard. And so there's just a little bit of a delay depending on what platform. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, there's just a little bit of a delay. But anyways, you turn your sound off. Otherwise, it's like the old days when you used to call the radio station, you get an echo unless you turn the sound down. So that'll help. And if you want a profile review, all you have to do to get me to review your profile is add the link in the comments and say something to the effect of profile review, please. You can phrase it however you want, but as long as you're giving me permission to do it, I will do it. And again, we spent about 5 minutes on it. Today, I'm also going to be talking about salary negotiations in a little bit of detail. So I might do that now since I don't have any comments coming in. So I don't know if my comments are working or not. This might make an interesting show. Tell you what, I'm going to actually back out of my broadcast and come back in and see if that's messing with it, because it's acting a little bit goofy. But I want to make sure that everybody can hear and see me, because like I said, usually I have a lot more engagement. This might make an interesting. I wish I could show you what it's doing, but it's like bouncing back and forth. So it looks like we might be having some technical difficulties on LinkedIn. And if that's the case, I apologize, but I'm going to keep rolling with the show. And what I'm going to do is first, I think, is I'm going to pull up an article that I wrote on Project Help You Grow. And the idea was to help people understand how to negotiate their salary, because salary negotiation is something people don't typically think about. However, it can not only affect if you get the job, but it can also affect how long you would stay at the job. Because if you're not making enough money, you're likely not happy. And if you're not making enough money, you likely either have to cut something back, and that hurts your quality of life, or you have to get a second job, and that can distract you from being as effective at your primary job, right? So first of all, you can be worn out, worn down. You're not getting the rest that you might need. You're certainly not going to get as much free time to pursue your hobbies and chase your passions. So salary negotiations, it's a pretty important part of the process. And so I am going through my blogs on Project Help You Grow. I know I wrote one on this topic, but now I'm starting to wonder if it was just a part of a bigger blog that I wrote. So bear with me just a second as I am looking for it. I will bring it up in a second. I think it's actually part of another blog, so hang on a second. But we're going to talk about salary negotiation today. If you have any questions based on how to negotiate for salary, feel free to put those in the comments, and I will. Yeah, I did it here. Okay. So let me pull this up. You can see it. Feel free to put them in the comments, and I will address. I'll always answer your questions. I'll kind of like pause whatever I'm talking about usually, and I'll address your comments. But share my screen. Here we go. Okay. So I wrote this blog, and it's called Win the Interview. And in here, I have a bunch of tips. The last tip number 10, is salary request. How much should you ask for? Well, there's a couple things at play here. The going rate is one, but also your cost of living is two. And you really need to consider both. They're both, I think, equally important. So let's come down to this section. Salary request, okay? The final step in the process here is to prepare for the question. You know it's coming. If they're interested in you, they're going to ask you, how much do you need to make? That's going to be the question. Now, what's funny is every hiring manager has a budget. They have one. So this is kind of a game. I hate to say it, but it's a negotiation. It's a strategy. They know what they can afford, but what they're trying to do in most cases is hire you for less than the going rate so that they can save money, because they have a department budget. So let's get into it. How much? I don't care what anyone says. This is always a part of the consideration to hire. Should a company go with an internal promotion or look outside for new talent? In any case, they will likely have multiple candidates to choose from. Who will they pick? You should ask how promotions and raises are addressed in an interview. Let me say that again. one mistake, and I've interviewed hundreds of people for consideration to hire, in fact, probably thousands, honestly. And it's something that very few people have ever asked me when I was interviewing them for a job opening is, can you tell me how your company handles promotions and raises? But I'm telling you, that is a critical question that you should be asking. And why? It's critical because let's say the inflation rate is 3%. Okay. 3%. I'm actually going to switch the view so you can see my face a little bit more. If inflation rate is 3%, that means your cost of living without adding anything extra is going to go up year over year. I mean, most of us know that, right? So if it's 1%, 5%, 3%, it doesn't really matter. It costs more every year. Let's say that the company policy that you're being interviewed for, they have a policy where they don't even consider giving you a raise or a promotion for the first year, first 2 years, first 3 years. If you, yeah, Jason is my buddy, and he's been a VP of ops for a long time, right? It's one of those things that people just don't ask. They're so excited about the opportunity to work for you. You could almost get them, and Jason, correct me if you think this is a mischaracterization, but I could almost get prospects to promise me anything. Want to work Saturdays, want to work overtime, want to come in 2 hours early. Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, almost like they're too yes happy, right? But here's the thing. When you're negotiating that salary in your mind, which you're probably thinking, because this is what most people think, well, I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to bust my butt, and I'm going to impress them, and they're going to give me a raise in the first, yeah, and Jason's saying the same thing, right? So they're going to give me a raise because they're going to see how awesome I am. And I'm going to tell you what Jason and I are thinking on the other end of that table. And everybody else, by the way, that's interviewing is like, no, that's what I expected you. That's why I hired you. I saw that you were a superstar in the making. You're a rock star. You're an undiscovered gem, a diamond in the rough. Your being awesome doesn't surprise me. It's what I expected. There's no raise coming. And now you're stuck with a wage that you can't live on because you don't know that I don't give raises for the first 2 years. Now, this is all hypothetical, but you understand why this is so important? I remember my very first raise and my very first official job. I was working for Togo's Sandwiches back in Sunnyvale, California, where I was a teenager. And I think my first wage was $4.15 an hour. And I was washing dishes at Togo's. The guy goes, man, you are incredible. You do such a good job. I've never, you know what I mean? I got a raise. You know what my raise was? My raise was 10 cents an hour. I went from 415 to 425. Anyways, I learned to ask about raises as a teenager because I never wanted to get another 10-cent raise in my life. I'm like, what is that? Anyways, you need to ask about these raises. Here's what happens. There are so many people that go in undervalued because they don't think about this as a negotiation. They don't value their worth. They don't understand what the position, the industry will pay in that market. We're going to get into all this in a second. But because they don't ask and they go in undervalued, now what happens? You go in there and you work your tail off because you are trying to make a good first impression. You only get one chance to make a first impression, right? So you're in there, you're busting your hump. You're doing, I mean, yeoman's work. And you're getting some verbal compliments. Everybody's happy. You've got no reason to think that they're not happy. But what isn't coming is promotions and raises, and you're frustrated. And now you start to get irritated. And now you start that happy job that you were so excited to get 6 months, 7 months, 8 months later. Now you're starting to burn out. Now you're like, you don't want to go to work. You're not excited about the work, all these things. So this stuff is happening now. The problem was not that the company is doing you wrong. The problem is in your strategy. You forgot a step. You didn't ask, what is the company policy? Because if you had asked, unless they lie, they would tell you what their policy is. We don't even consider promotions for a year. Okay. Well, now at least you know, and you can ask for a number that you can not only live on today, this is why inflation is so important, but you can live on into the future. Now, some of you are also looking to relocate. So this is where the market becomes important. Yeah, you have to understand what you need. You have to understand what's an acceptable range, and you have to put them together. Okay, so I'm going here with all of this in just a second. And if you guys are curious, I'll actually share this link. Okay, so if you guys want to read the full article to prepare for the interview, which includes the salary strategy that I'm talking about, click here. Okay. All right. So I just put that in the comments. Okay. So you can click to the article if you want to read it, because I have 9 other things. Salary strategy is just the last one. There's 10 things. And you should read this if you have an interview coming up. I promise you, it will help you prepare and ace that interview, which you do everything you do with your resume and cover letter to earn the interview. But that's just the first step. You could go into the interview round at the head of the stack. You have the best resume. But a lot of times, and I think Jason is still watching. If you're still watching, say this. When we interview people, like, we typically have an idea, okay, the leader going into the clubhouse is this person. But then the interviews, it almost always changes. Like, the best resume usually isn't the best interview, but the interview to us is almost always more important. So we end up hiring the person who interviews better, almost always. That's been my experience anyways. So it'll be interesting to hear other people's topics. But here's the thing. Let's get back to the salary negotiation. If you're changing jobs and you're changing location, your locale is going to change. So let's say you're going from, and this happened to me. I'm going to give you a real life example. Okay. And this is where I learned this lesson personally. I was moving from Las Vegas, Nevada to Texas, somewhere between San Antonio and Austin, because I was going to run a sales team for Thomas Printworks between the two cities. I was going to run a sales team in San Antonio and a sales team in Austin. So they wanted me to live somewhere in the middle. Okay. No state income tax in either state. So what I did not understand was there's other taxes that can make up the difference, if you know what I'm saying. And so my real estate tax in Texas was my monthly payment on my home, the value of the home was about the same. I just assumed that the monthly payment with the mortgage and the insurance and all that stuff, everything would be about the same. That was faulty. That was faulty thinking. I didn't look into the cost of living correctly there. And so my real estate tax that I was paying quarterly in Nevada was the same amount monthly now. I was paying per month because my real estate taxes were much higher in Texas. So I ended up needing more money. Well, the salary that I negotiated, and I say negotiated loosely because I accepted the first offer they gave me because it was higher than I was going to ask for. So I thought I was lucky and I won. I was like, wow, okay. I got more than I expected. And I came up with that number based on informational interviews. So if you don't know what an informational interview is, again, I've got another blog on Project Help You Grow. You can read where I explain what that is and how to do it. So anyway, so I was excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have extra money. We're going to be good. But then when I moved to Texas and I got that first bill, I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here, because it was a significant number. Again, what I was paying quarterly, now I'm paying monthly, and I didn't have that in my budget. So I went to my boss and I heartfeltly presented my case and said, can we relook at my salary? And like most bosses are going to be forced to do in that case, my hands are tied. This is the salary we agreed on, and this is our policy. No raises. So I ended up having to get a second job. So I've been there. is what I'm trying to say. I'm not perfect, but I've learned and I'm trying to help you guys learn. So let me teach you a little bit about what I've learned here. Okay. You want to research what the going market rate is in that area, because upon reflection, the informational interviews that I did were in the Las Vegas, Nevada area and not the Texas area. Why? Well, at the time, I didn't know anybody who was doing the work that I was going to go do in that part of Texas. So it was an access thing. But, now with LinkedIn, you guys really don't have an excuse for that. You can find people who do pretty much anything you want anywhere in the world using LinkedIn. So, reach out to people and ask them questions that you can't ask anybody else because they don't work in that industry. They don't have access to that information. But, people pretty much will help you out if it doesn't cost them anything. So be humble, ask for help, and then listen to them. So informational interview, do your market research. Okay. Once you know what the going rate is for that job, that's one part of it. But then the other part of it is cost of living. You really need to do your research. How much is your mortgage? How much is your power? How much will your taxes be? All those things. I have a resource that I'm going to share with you right now. I actually wasn't even planning to do this, but I'm going to share it with you right now, just in case you guys are not familiar with it. One of my clients at Bowman Digital Media is called Dwellix, and Dwellix has this app. It's an app. It's free. You don't have to sign up for an account. This is 100% free, which I really like. Okay. So you can come in here and you can do a comparison between, hang on a second. You do got to tell it where you're living. Well, I'm going to just do this real quick. So let's just say I live in Los Angeles, which I live around Los Angeles, but not actually in Los Angeles. And you can fill out how many kids you've got between 0 and 4, 5 and 18. Obviously I've got more kids than that. You can say if you rent or own, but anyways, I'm just going to leave it all there. This is just for demonstration purposes. Okay. So once you do that, you can actually come in here and now you can you can make adjustments. You can do all kinds of stuff. They have over 100 different things that you can adjust, preferences, right? But here's what's really cool. Let's say, oops, I was clicking on the wrong screen. Sorry. Okay. So let's say I want to come in here and I want to look at different cities and I want to compare them. So I can come in and say, let's say I want to move to Texas. Let's say I'm going to go through that same hypothetical that I was going for last time. So I come down here and I pick Texas, and then you can come here and it actually will tell you the cities that you match with the best. Like it's saying based on the information that was just the default, 99.5% match. I'm at Lucas, Texas, right? But let's say I want to pick a specific city. The city that I had lived in was called New Braunfels. That's the city that I settled on, right? So New Braunfels, I forgot an S. New Braunfels. Is it not in here? It might not be in here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there it is. And it's saying it's a 95.1% match. That's not even why I'm here. Look at this. This is so cool. It's going to give me information. Right now it's saying it's $3,885 a year more to live in New Braunfels, Texas for money matters than in Los Angeles. And what do those numbers include? Well, there's income that it assumes the same. So my federal tax is the same. No state income tax, so I'm saving money there. Housing cost is much less. Property tax is lower. So it gives you an idea. So your cost of childcare is less, because I remember I put in that I had 2 kids, which I actually have more. Purchases and savings. So this is showing $32.96. I'm not sure exactly what that entails. So I'd have to do some more research to figure that out. But anyways, what I'm really looking for is right here. Housing cost, property tax. I can use this tool because it knows what the tax rates are in every city in the United States, every little town, suburb, all of it. They've got over 50,000 locations in here. So you could come and use this tool And you can put your actual income information. You can put your actual number of kids and stuff. You don't give your name or email address or anything like that. So it doesn't know who you are. So you can fill that out. And I've actually done this. It's amazing. Just this alone. Now, this tool will do a lot more than that. It's called dwellix.com. Since I put it in here, I'm actually going to, I'll put the site here for you guys too. Okay. So if you're interested in, in seeing this data for yourself to help you figure out what you need to negotiate on a salary, then come here, visit dwellix.com. Again, it's free, it's fast, and you can get that part of the equation at least, because that's the part that burned me on my last failed, and really I want to say it that way. It was my last failed salary negotiation because I made an assumption that was faulty, and it was a major miscalculation. So make sure, here's my advice, the takeaways. Make sure you understand, do your research on what the market rate is for the job that you're planning on doing in the area that you're planning to do it. Because that was the other thing. When I did my market research on salary, I was looking at Las Vegas because that's where I lived. So I was comparing the salary to Las Vegas rates. Wouldn't have been a problem if I was living in Las Vegas, but I was moving to a different area, and the value for the job that I did was different. That can be good or it can be bad. In my case, it should have been positive because I should have asked for more money because that was the going rate. And if I had asked for more money, the tax burden from the house that I had underestimated wouldn't have burned me. I would have been covered, and I still wouldn't have had to get that second job, and I would have had a higher satisfaction rate with my paycheck, which would have made doing the job easier. And after 4 years, I burned out of that job and I left. You see what I'm saying? So in the salary negotiation, you need to know what the going rate is for the market. Figure out what your cost of living is going to really be. Mortgage, taxes, figure out gas and groceries, and I mean, all of it. Figure it all out. If you have a savings plan, which please, for the love of all things holy, save some money, right? Have in your budget, have room for savings. Because if you're only making money by trading your time for money, then you're doing yourself a disservice. The richest people in the world spend very little of their time trading it for money. They use money to make money, right? So you need investment. That'll be another topic for another show, okay? But have some of that. Have an emergency fund. Have in your budget, some money to date your spouse, to, buy gifts for your family. I mean, all those things add up. And if it's not in your budget and you're assuming that you're going to go in there and wow them, and then you don't get that raise, that's going to be tough. And again, ask that question. Make sure you ask that question. Write it down. The question verbatim. Can you please tell me how your company handles raises and promotions? You want to know before you take the job if they have a policy that says they don't even consider raises for fill in the blank time, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Now you know going in, and you're not butthurt when after 6 months, no one's looking at you, knocking on your door saying, hey, good news, we're going to bump your salary 15% and we're going to give you a title bump. Because they told you in the interview process they don't do that. That's their company policy. And you would know that, but you didn't ask. So change it and ask. It'll help you out. Okay. Now, I am 30 minutes into this show, and I have not had one single request for anybody for me to do a profile review. I'm going to do a profile review because I want to show you what it is. And when I do that, I think then you guys will go, oh, okay, that's what he means by profile review. So Who would like a profile review? What I'm going to do is I'm going to look over, if you're looking for a job, if you're a job seeker, I'm going to pull up your profile review, your profile right here on this show, and I'm gonna go through it live. We're gonna look at your cover photo, your profile photo, your headline. We're gonna look at your about section. We'll look at your featured section. I'll look at your work experience. I'm gonna look at your skills and endorsements, and I'm gonna look at your recommendations for 5 minutes. I have a hard 5 minute cap. At 5 minutes, I just stop. And you can do, and I've had several people do it. When I give the suggestions, you can make those changes throughout the week. And then if you come back next week or anytime after and you've made those changes, then I'll come back and do more. We'll do a follow-up. And so you can get an in-depth profile review over time. It's just I like to break them up over a 5 minute period because I don't want anybody to think that I'm picking on them. It's one of those things I'm very cautious about that because I don't, at the end of the day, I really don't want people to feel like I'm picking on them. So we do have our first volunteer. And so I'm going to pull that up right now. And here we are. All right. Profile review. Very first thing. I really like this cover photo because it's unique. I look at cover photos all the time. I've not seen one like this. Now, the problem that I have with it is I don't know what it means. So where I think it's visually interesting, and as a graphic designer, I might have more of a proclivity to things that are interesting than most people. So be careful with that. But here's the bottom line. If you're a job seeker, you don't want any ambiguity, in my opinion. You really want to lay it down just plain as day. I'm available for hire, which you have here. Okay, we're going to come back to this in a minute. So I'm not faulting you for that. I think you've done a good job letting the world know that you're available for an opening. So good. But right here, what I would suggest is some type of written content that says, this is the work that I'm available to do. I've mentioned this each and every show, and I always think it's important to let you guys know. The average profile review on social media is 6.5 seconds on LinkedIn. Okay, so it's not on all platforms. The number changes a little bit. But on LinkedIn, the average profile review is only 6.5 seconds. What does that mean? That means in 6.5 seconds, you have to capture their attention or they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to move on to the next. So what do we want to do? As a job seeker, what we want to do is we want to communicate very clearly, very fast, very easy to understand. This is what I do, and this is where I want to do it. Because sometimes, like right now, you live in Glasgow, so you're in Scotland, and you might not want to work there. You might want to go over to London. You might want to go, to France. You might want to come over to the United States, up to Canada, down to Mexico. I mean, wherever. So a few things that I would suggest, depending on what the case is for you, right here. And I would keep this. I like this. So what I would do is I would take this. Now, I don't know if you're in Photoshop or not. For those of you who don't recognize the checkerboard pattern, what that is that means this is actually, it was designed as a PNG or a clear file. And so this layer is actually supposed to be clear. But the checkerboard, I love it because that lets me know you're in design program, right? So I would just take that and shrink it down. And you can do that in Canva, or obviously if you have a design program like, InDesign or Photoshop or why am I not able to think of Illustrator? There we go. Adobe Illustrator. All right, I use Adobe products, so those are the ones that are top of mind for me. But then right here, what I would put is, what is it you do? Because I'm actually looking at this, and I still am not sure. And this is a major problem, by the way. This is a major problem. We'll come back to this in a second. But right here, I would put the type of work that you're looking for. This is not going to be a dynamic search. It's not searchable by LinkedIn algorithm. right? So if somebody's over here, let's say, for example, because I don't understand what most of this means, frankly, but I do understand economics. So I'm just going to go with that for a second. So let's say right here, you're looking for a job in economics. If somebody was to put right here economics, you may or may not come up. And if you do come up, you're likely not to come up very high. But the fact is, if they land on your page and they're looking at this and they're looking at 7 other profiles, this one might not win. And we haven't even gotten off the cover photo yet. But if you were to put in here available for hire for economics, any, let's say, West European locations, now it's very clear. You're looking for economics work and where you're looking to do it, somewhere in Western Europe. Okay. Now you've got something. Now they're going to start to scroll. But the thing that I would do here, you've got, I think that you're very smart. That's the assumption that I'm making right off the top. But I think the problem with people that are really smart sometimes is they forget that the rest of us aren't necessarily as smart as you. We don't understand the industry jargon. We don't get it. Like CCUS. What does that mean? You've got an acronym. I don't know what it means. Now, maybe the people that would be searching for you and hiring you do know what that means. So I'm not saying necessarily that you have to change it. What I'm saying is you need to make sure that the people that you want looking for you understand what that means. And sometimes that means just spelling it out. And other times it means taking it off of the headline and putting it down in the about section. So you're going to have to make that call because, again, this is a little bit over my head, right? Like this is not the space that I live in. So I don't know what this means. I'm sure that you do, and I'm sure you can explain it. But the fact is you want people who come to this page right now, especially because you're just looking for work. This needs to be reserved for work-related stuff. The rest of it, volunteering, unless that's the main thing on your resume, which we'll get to in a second, we probably want to revise this to say words like economics and analyzing and those types of things, job functions. What would somebody, this is the way really to understand how to write a headline. The headline, and most of you, by the way, if you don't know this, the default is your job title and the company. Well, if you're at work, or I'm sorry, if you're not working, then you need to revise your headline. So what do you put there? Well, I suggest you look at job descriptions. What are the keywords, skills in most of the job descriptions that you read for the jobs that you would apply for? Those are the kinds of words that you want to put in your headline. Now, that's my strategy. Why? Because they're more likely to put in, instead of your name, they don't know who you are, remember, right? But they're looking for somebody who does what you do. So in here, what would they put? Would they put economist? Would they put business analyst? Would they put PhD? Would they put, what would they put? Those words, whatever they would put here, that's what you want to put here, okay? Now, word placement matters. So I actually like that you have Paris here. If you want to continue to work, or in your case, you're not in Paris, you're in Scotland. But if you want to work in Paris, not Scotland, then this is brilliant strategy to have the word Paris in your headline. But if you don't want to work in Paris, then this should come out of your headline. That can be in your about section. It can be in your featured section. It doesn't need to be in your headline. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Put the keywords from the job descriptions that you want in, and the more important it is, or the more, let's say like you have 10 keywords that you chose. These are the 10 most important. Which one is the number one? Like for you, this is my main skill. This is the one that I want to get hired for. Put that one first. Then the second one second, and rank them top, most important, to the bottom, least important. And then put them. It's not a sentence. It's just it's a keyword list. And that's what I would put in your headline. Too many people are trying to be cute with this and make awesome sentences out of it. It's like, no, you're trying to be discovered. So let's get discovered. And here's a problem too, by the way. You need more friends. And I'm saying that in the nicest way as I can. Some of you are sticking to this old school line of thinking, well, I can't connect with you on LinkedIn because I don't know you. I don't care. This is social media. The way LinkedIn works specifically, the more people you know, the more people on LinkedIn, the more access to LinkedIn you have. This doesn't work this way on other platforms, but on LinkedIn, it's how it works. If you're not in first, second, or third degree connections, then it doesn't help you out. Now, I wish that I could hit that accept button, but I'm at the max, so I can't hit that. If I hit it, it would basically do nothing. But the fact is, you need to reach out to more people. How do you do that? Get involved in the comment sections of posts. Now you're doing that on here, which is really cool. Okay, and I appreciate it. And hopefully this visibility. In fact, for any of you who are watching this, please reach out and connect with this gentleman. Let's help get this number up because he needs some visibility. So let's help him out. Okay. Now let me look at your about section. The about section. Ooh, you got a lot. Okay. So this is actually good. You got a lot of information, but the problem is look at it. Look at it from an independent standpoint. Now, again, this might be tough because I think you're very smart. You're in an academic elite. So you're really smart. So when you look at this, you probably don't get intimidated. But if I was to do a survey question right now, just live survey. In fact, if you're watching the show and you want to answer me this question, how likely are you to read this paragraph? You don't know this young man. How likely are you to read it? And I'm telling you frankly that if I polled 100 people and asked them how likely are they to read it, I would almost be willing to bet that less than 3 yeses would come through and 97 or more no's would come through. I'm not willing to read it. The problem here is it's not bite size. You can say all the exact same things, but what you need to do is give me some space, some paragraphs, and some spacing. And honestly, without even reading it, what you probably need to do is incorporate some bullet points. So strip out some of the content and make it more read like a list because you've got a lot here. Let me give you guys in general some strategy on the about section. This is what I think you should do with the about section. I think with the about section, it's not historical. It's primarily painting a picture of who you are and what you want to do with the rest of your career. Specifically, in every interview that I've ever been in, and probably any interview I've ever given, I've asked the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's a very common question. One of the reasons why we ask it is we want to know if you're planning on moving next year or retiring next year. We don't want to hire you. Why? Because, onboarding is expensive and it takes a long time. So we don't want to invest in somebody that's not going to stick around. It's one of the reasons why people are so interested in job hoppers, as far as we want to know why you switch jobs every 2 to 3 years. That's another question. But in the about section, if you will take the time to paint a picture of who you are and break it up into bite-sized components so that it is easy to digest. Hang on for just a second, and I'm going to pull up another one. I'm just going to give you a comparison just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay. I think I'm just going to show you guys mine just because I haven't had anybody else ask for one, and I want to make sure that I'm not just pulling up people's profile randomly. So here's my about section. Let me pull this over. Okay. So here's my about section. See what I mean by I've broken it up? It's more bite size. Okay. So I don't know what you've written. I didn't even read it. I just looked at the whole big clump. And mine, frankly, is not perfect. And partly that's because I'm not a job seeker. It's not quite as important for me as it is for you. And what I'm doing here mainly is I'm talking about my business. So, about Bowman Digital Media. But look what I've done. I've got it broken up into sections. So who is Ira Bowman? First of all, I'm a corn carrier. It just means I'm a part of a group. And so I'm identifying myself to the people in the group. They understand what that means. Okay. Now, who is Ira Bowman? I'm happily married for 20 years. So I'm painting a picture of who I am, which is what I'm telling you that you should do too. And then now I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I'm always looking to build my relationships, network relationships. I'm thankful for connecting with so many on LinkedIn. I am at the max, which is 30,000. So everybody else, now I need you to follow me, and I follow you back, and I engage with everybody in the comments, and I allow everybody on LinkedIn to send me messages. You don't have to have InMail. I've provided that for you. Okay. Then I tell people, hey, if you want to find me on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all these other places, find me here. Okay. So that's me being social. And then I talk about my business. But that's because I'm a business owner. I'm not looking for a job. If I was looking for a job, what I would do is swap this part out and paint a story for the next 5 years. This is what I want to do with my career, and this is where I see myself in the next 5 years. And I would put that in, and that is all I would need to do. And I might actually put that up a little bit higher, right? So you might want to lead with that and then tell the story of who you are, just in order of operations, okay? So that's something to consider. Now, the featured section, this is a little bit confusing. So let me go back to mine since I have it up here. Okay. So my featured section, what I have and what I recommend all of you have in the first spot is a video. And for job seekers, what I say is let's do like 180 seconds or less, 3 minutes or less. If you would put up a video for 3 minutes or less and just kind of tell people who you are, where you're from, what you're looking to do, give people a little bit of an opportunity to see how you speak, your mannerisms, let your personality shine through a little bit, keep it professional, have a clean background, be well lit. Basically, look how I am set up right now. Now, I'm sure you probably don't have a fancy backdrop, right? Because you're probably not a podcaster and not on video all day long like I am, but that's okay, right? Just use like a clean, neutral wall. I'm not a big fan of people setting up in front of windows or anything that's visually distracting. So you kind of want something that's just kind of, I hate to say boring, but boring. And then make sure you're well lit. No raccoon eyes. And for the love of all things holy, again, for those of you with those ring lights, if you wear glasses, you need to be really careful. I mean, we see the ring in the reflection of your glasses. It's very distracting. So make sure that you have your lighting on point. If you wear glasses and you need a ring light to front light your face, then you might want to take the glasses off or learn some tricks. I'm going to teach you guys a trick real quick, okay? If you take your glasses, and this is for photography, is where I actually learned this, but if you're taking a photo and you've got glasses on, just take the back end of your glasses and tilt them up a little bit like that. What it does is it changes the angle of the lens so that reflection isn't flat, and now it doesn't come through in the photo or the video. Okay. So if you need your glasses on and you have a ring light, then go ahead and change the angle of your lens by shifting the back end, the stem of your glass up. Usually I say about 1/4 of an inch off your ear, and that changes the angle enough that it doesn't come through in the photo or video. And photography tips by Ira. You're welcome. Anyways, there you go. Okay, so featured section. This is important. Everybody can do this for free because you can use Zoom to record. So as long as you have a webcam or a camera phone, create this video. It doesn't have to be produced. It doesn't have to be fancy. What I do recommend is that you try not to use the words and ah and stumble. And so, work on making it a good pass, right? Don't just put up the first pass unless you kill it. You do a really good job the first pass, and okay, great. But anyways, get that video up there. Make that be the first one. Now, the other things that I recommend for job seekers, it's a little bit different than mine, again, because I'm not a job seeker. So what do I have? I have pictures and other videos in here. I have this is a video, but I mean, all the things you can kind of see what I've got in here. But what I'm doing is a little bit different than what you're doing. But human beings, we're visual creatures by nature. So what I would suggest that you guys have as job seekers is if you've won awards, if you've won certificates, if you got certificates in stuff like for coders and people who do languages, a lot of it's not about a degree, it's about your certs, right? So get the pictures of your certs up here. JPEG pictures of your certs, awards that you won, get them up here. If you've got like, a PhD, by all means, why not have a picture of your diploma? If you're worried about, personal data, just, block that part out. Put a piece of paper over it, blur it out, whatever you got to do. But it validates the claims that you've made with statements by showing us pictures. It's proof. It's social proof of your qualifications. The other thing that I love to do here is if you get a good recommendation, and I actually made a post about this myself the other day. I think it was yesterday, actually. I got a referral from Angela here. I did her website and I built her logo and I helped her with her social media launch of her business here on LinkedIn. And so she wrote me this referral. Now, what I would suggest you would do, especially if you have a letter of recommendation from somebody that isn't electronic, is take a picture of that, a screenshot of that, save it as a JPEG, and then bring it up here and put it in your featured section. Okay. So again, remember, if you have like a PDF or something from somebody that's not, if they sent you a letter of recommendation, but it's not on LinkedIn, you can put it on LinkedIn in the featured section. Very important. Then the other thing that I like to do too, and I've actually taken mine off and I'm actually thinking about putting some new ones on, but I've got pictures of me like out in, the elements. So I'm going to pull it up real quick. I'm going to show you, like I just did some shots off of a boat in, I took my family actually on a tour, whale watching tour. And so, hang on a second. I'm going to share it right here. Okay. So this is my Instagram page. And so like, here's some pictures of me on the boat, right? I don't have to necessarily tell you I'm a photographer if you see these photos, right? This is one example, but I'm going to put some of those, I think, over here in the featured section, because again, it validates some of the work that I do. You know what I mean? So in your guys' featured section, if you have, like, for example, my cousin, Anthony Norman, he was a district trainer for the company that he had worked with. And then he was on a job search last year. And so we had put corporate trainer as one of the skills that he had. So what we did is we took some of his pictures from events where he was doing training, and we made a collage out of it. And then we put that in the featured section as one of the things. In fact, I'm going to pull him up real quick. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's an example of a cover photo that's really well done. You've got a picture. This tells me what you're doing. He's got a good profile photo. This is now his current job. So he's not a job seeker. So he's got the default headline again, but we had fixed that when he was doing a job search. And then this is the picture that I'm talking about in the featured section, right? So we took these individual pictures and we put it together to show him, this is him here and him here doing this corporate training. These are the people that he was training, right? So it's showing that he communicate and train. This says a lot in a very easy to understand way, right? But now he has validation of the claims that he's good at communicating and training, because here you can see him in the element doing it. So that's what I'm talking about. All right. So again, with job seeker spotlights, with all of this, the idea is to help you guys improve. So hopefully by showing you, by doing that profile review for you, Dr. I don't know how to say your name and I don't want to butcher it. So I'm just going to say Dr. A, or Dr. O, Dr. A-O. You know what I mean? I don't want to butcher your name. Sorry. So hopefully that is very helpful. But then also, you can see what I did with mine. Again, is I'm not a job seeker, so some of my stuff is different, but you can see even in the things that I have done, that I believe in the message that I'm teaching. And then I showed you an example of somebody. Look, he didn't have a job, and now he has a job, and he has a really good job by implementing some of these strategies that I taught him. So I think we're going to wrap it up. We're just a couple minutes short. We usually go an hour or at 56 minutes, but I'm not getting a lot of feedback. And again, I wish I could show you guys what was happening on my LinkedIn Live. It's like it's moving, and I don't know if that's messing with the audience today or not. But we definitely have had a skinny comment section, which is fine. Next week, we are going to launch a brand new segment. My co-host, Lisa Jones, who is the owner of a resume writing service called Specialized Resume Services. She will be back. We're going to be implementing a brand new segment, and it is going to be called, we just came up with the name today, so I'm excited about it. It's called the Power 5 Learning Time with Lisa. And what is the Power 5 Learning Time with Lisa going to be about? It's going to be kind of like what I did here with the salary negotiations. It's going to be a 5-minute segment, basically, where we go into, she's a professional resume writer, CV writer. So, I imagine a lot of that will be around the resume, but she's going to teach you things in 5-minute increments, all about, how to improve your job search strategies so that you can land a job faster. Okay. Her name is Lisa Jones. If you don't know her, I don't know where you've been. She is, I always forget her title. She's part of the Goodwill Global Ambassadors. She runs it with Richard DiPadilla. They're pretty much tag team it. So I think he's the CEO and I think she's the president. I think that's how it works. You'll have to ask them. But anyways, they're both my friends. Anyways, so I'm excited to have her as my co-host. Again, she wasn't able to make it today, but next week she'll be back unless, circumstances arise. But she's planning on being back. I just was on the phone with her for about an hour today. So she's planning on being back. We'll have that new segment. We're going to do the spotlights. We always do spotlights. I encourage you guys to really consider coming on the show, the live show, the video. Come on the video with us. And here's why. If we ask you who you are, where you're from, what you want to do, all those things, you could take that and edit this video, because these are on YouTube and they're on Facebook and they're on LinkedIn pretty much forever. We could take that and edit out just your 5-minute section. And that could be the video that you use in your featured section. Now, think about that. You would not only have a video that has, who you are and what you do, but you would have me and Lisa Jones. I think Lisa's at 30,000 on LinkedIn too. You'd have 2 people at 30,000 plus following on LinkedIn. Pretty well known, especially in this space. So that could help you out too. Anyways, it's free. There are no strings attached. You don't get some, hey, like you were on my show, you need to do this for me or that for me or send me a check. Or there's none of that. It's just free, right? So if you're worried about a surprise bill or some surprise, you owe me this, you owe me that, there's none of that. I promise you. Goodwill Global Ambassadors is a free organization. Project Help You Grow is a free organization. They're both nonprofits. We're not trying to do anything but help people out. So I encourage you to think about that. You just need to come. The show is on the same time each and every week. So wherever it started for you today at 3:00 Pacific time or 6 p.m. Eastern is the times that I advertise. But wherever you are, time adjust. It's that same time, same day, each and every week. Okay. My name is Ira Bowman. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you next time. Remember, if you need help, there's always free help available for job seekers 100% of the time, 365 days a year, 24/7. You can come to this site, Project Help You Grow, anytime for free help. It's like self-help, free help, right? So I have job listings. There's millions of job listings on here. There is probably 60 or 70 blogs, if I remember right. And I think there's over 50 podcast episodes. I have all of Kirsty Bonner's best posts on there. So if you're looking for advice from Kirsty Bonner, who is no longer with us, God rest her soul. May she rest in peace. Anyways, her information is there as well. And then I have a show that I used to run. I actually don't run it anymore. I'm going to click on it real quick so you guys can see it. This was a show that I was doing for a while called Ask Ira. In Ask Ira, I've got all the episodes on here. So if you're, struggling with a job search, you can come on here. There's Ask Ira episodes. There's 15 of them, I believe. Maybe more than that. But anyways, what this was is it was just live questions from job seekers. So job seekers could ask, and I had some guests, as you can see. I've got different guests on here. Anyways, you can watch these episodes too. It's all free. There's no commercials. There's no advertisements. It's just free help. You don't have to have an account. There is no premium service or anything like that. It's free for everybody, and it works around the world. So no matter where you're coming to me from, India, Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America, it works everywhere around the world. In fact, I was really excited one day because I used to say this tongue in cheek, but I said we have jobs in 6 out of 7 continents. And then we got a job listing for Antarctica, which I thought was crazy. But anyways, there was a research position available. I believe it was GE, if I remember right. Don't hold my feet to the fire on that, but I believe it was GE. So anyways, we've had job listings at some point now for every single continent. I don't think we have them for every continent right now, but we have had it at some point. So what is it? This is my website. I own this. Okay. This is Project Help You Grow is Ira Bowman. Here we go. I'm helping connect those looking for jobs with those who have open positions to fill around the world at no cost to either party. So it is free for job seekers. It's free for recruiters. It's free for employers. You can post your jobs. You can post your resume. You can look for jobs. You can view the blog. You can watch all the podcasts. You can get the Kirsty Bonner information. You can watch the Ask Ira shows. You can do all of that for free. Okay. So anyways, that's Project Help You Grow. If you're interested, check it out. I will see you guys next week. Until then, be kind out there. Keep your head up. Remember this, your worth is not just the paycheck. Your self-worth is much more than that. So you are not just a paycheck. If you're unemployed and you've been struggling to find a job, the show is designed to help you increase your visibility. But I want you to know, from you to me, I don't care what your paycheck says, you're worth more than that. So it can be depressing, right? It can be depressing trying to find a job, not being able to find a job. That's why I run Project Help You Grow. Honestly, that's why I launched it. That's why I continue to fund it. That's why I keep it free. I can't tell you how many times somebody has asked me or tried to give me tips on how to monetize Project Help You Grow. It's like, really? You don't think I haven't thought of that already? I mean, I've thought of a lot of things. I've been approached about a lot of things for Project Help You Grow to monetize it, and I refuse because it's a labor of love, and I want it to be accessible to everybody, always for free. So I've vowed, as long as I can physically afford it, to keep it running. And right now I'm doing fine in that department, and I'm very thankful, and I praise God for that. So I'm happy to offer it to you guys for free. So if you need it, it's there. Keep your heads up. I'll see y'all next week. BowmanDigitalMedia.com.